This is going to be Wailing Caverns as a Mistweaver monk. Usual disclaimer, I'm not an expert at this game. This is not a dungeon guide. This is just my experience with a random dungeon group. Might seem unnecessary to repeat that every time, but I have my reasons. Anyway, Wailing Caverns. Why do I already have those quests? I saw those in my quest log. I had picked those up. I guess I must have had like a failed attempt on this. And the group fell apart or something? I don't remember this. It was a while ago. Anyway, oh boy, this warrior is going pretty fast. So we got a warrior tank here. Some damage dealers. I think I see a hunter. That's an arcane mage. And where's the other one? Is that a rogue? Yes. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So Wailing Caverns. Pretty confusing looking dungeon. Seems like there are a lot of ways to get lost in here. It's only a little bit non-linear if you actually look at the routes. Hopefully I'll pop open the map at some point here. Let's see, my action bar I think looks the same as it did in, I think Shadowfang Keep was the last one I did. We got Renewing Mist here, Soothing Mist. Oh, how helpful that I rolled over them. Enveloping Mist, Vivify, and Detox. I read those out of order, but, you know, whatever order they were in. The Hunter's a skinner. Since there's another person who skins things, I meant skinner and leatherworker. Since there's another person who likes to skin things, I often just don't bother. Just let them have the things if they're going to go for it. However, as a healer, I do sometimes have a bunch of downtime where I can just be skinning and not need to be doing anything else. However, sometimes it's better to fill that time with attacking than, like, looting and skinning and stuff. It depends. Looks like I'm still not at the phase where I'm comfortable getting in there and meleeing. Every dungeon I do, I say, maybe this is the time when I'll do it. I know it happens eventually. Anyway, yeah, so let's see. How does this dungeon work? You gotta take out a bunch of bosses, then go back to the entrance and start a gauntlet event thing, and then it's the final boss. So, first boss is here. Is this Lady Anaconda, I think? Yeah, she got a thing over on the right. Mm-hmm. Not really a whole lot of healing requirements so far. Can be pretty calm about it. Barely even casting Enveloping Mist. That one's a little more expensive than Soothing Mist. If I can just sit there and channel Soothing Mist the whole time, that's pretty mana efficient, but it doesn't do a huge amount of healing. Enveloping Mist, in addition to adding a second heal over time, in addition to the channeled one with Soothing Mist, it also makes all healing done to that target more effective. I forget how much more effective, but some amount more effective. So if there's any heavy healing that I'm doing, I definitely always want to have Enveloping Mist up on the primary targets. And probably Renewing Mist too if I'm casting Vivify. Not a super serious boss here. I see now that there was a sleep effect on that rogue that I could have dispelled, but I guess I didn't see it at the time when I was playing. Yeah, I'm filling the time here with Crackling Jade Lightning. So using ranged damage, because I'm not yet comfortable going into melee, I guess. But yeah, if I have some downtime healing, I can just do some damage. Alright, and that's her. So one of the quests in here is to gather up this stuff called Serpent Bloom. It doesn't stand out very much. I have a lot of trouble seeing it. It's this plant that grows all over the cave. I'm pretty sure there is enough... Whoa, there's some latency here. Normally looting happens a lot faster than that. Guess the instance server was not talking to me very quickly on that day. Yeah, there's some Serpent Bloom there on the left. You can kind of see it glowing. That's stuff that the rogue's going toward. Rogue got to it. Every player in the dungeon here wants to gather 5 of it, so you gotta find 25 total for everybody to get that quest done. Warrior got 1. I have so much trouble spotting it, and this group got to it before I did in most of the places where I did spot it, so I didn't gather enough Serpent Bloom to complete the quest on this trip to Wailing Caverns. I came back much later at a higher level, just to sort of walk through the dungeon again when I out-leveled all the enemies and could just sort of see the route at my own pace on my own without following a group, just to get a little more familiar with it. That is also, I find, a very useful thing to do, in addition to, running the dungeon as different roles. Just come back alone, out-leveling it, see the basic mechanics and layout again in a calm environment before going in as the group leader. So sometimes I do that as practice in addition to playing as another role. Yeah, this is all sort of just leading up to... Ideally, I want to be comfortable going to any random dungeon and playing as the tank and group leader and, know all the relevant mechanics. Be able to perform all that stuff. I feel like I was mostly there when I was playing this game 8 years ago, but so many memories have faded, and I need to refresh my memory. And learn a lot of new dungeons. Because I think it's 3 new expansions have come out since the ones that I knew. So I played Classic Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm. Then came Legion... No, then came Mists of Pandaria. Then came Legion. Then Battle for Azeroth? No, there was another one in there. What was the other one? Is that right? I think I'm forgetting one. Haven't gotten to the expansion content yet. I mostly just know the first... basic game of the first 3 expansions. Oh, by the way, this is a boss. Lord Pythos, whatever. Pythos, I guess, because he's like a python. These are all druids of the Fang. They're like snake druids. Snake people who do snaky things. I'm not really getting any loot drops here, but that's fine. My equipment is doing the job. There's the map for like half a second. So yeah, the place is kind of like figure 8 shaped. It twists back around on itself, but if you know where to go, it's a reasonably linear path. Just looks really confusing when you're doing it. I happened to know there wasn't any serious combat there, so I felt comfortable taking a moment to skin and loot and stuff. Now, I knew my tank wouldn't get into too much trouble. He's pretty durable so far. This one is not making me work very hard. I can usually get a pretty good feeling for the player's playstyle and level of experience and level of equipment in the first few encounters, and this looks like somebody I don't need to worry about. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's prepared. Oh, I think those are the heirloom shoulders, like the ones you can buy on a high-level character and mail to a lower-level one, that just automatically scale with your level and give you an experience bonus. I think that's how they work. Yeah, so this is obviously somebody who has a higher level character on the same server? I don't know if you have to be on the same server to send heirlooms to yourself. It might have changed. I think this is how it used to be when I played. Anyway, but yeah, those things give you an experience bonus, which honestly is not always desirable. You will see, as we get toward the end of the classic dungeons, I think I tried to talk about this last time but cut myself off, I actually end up having to turn off experience gain to get to fit in all the dungeons before I go above the level requirement for them. So I don't want to gain it too quickly. It is quick enough as it is. So bonuses can get to be too much. There we go, there was a map for a bit more. So going toward Lord Cobran, it looks like. We fought Lord Snake Name, now we're going to fight Lord Snake Name. Afterward, we'll probably fight Lord Snake Name. And a couple of more. And a couple of things that don't fit that same pattern. There's a little baby dragon flying around. I think it's somebody's pet. The hunter's pet, probably. Not their pet, you know, but the little one. Actually, does that hunter have a combat pet? Don't they normally? Yeah, okay, it's the tall strider there. I was trying to parse through, like, all the 3D models on screen and find the one that was the hunter's pet. Not a fan of the hunter class, honestly. There are now 11 character slots per server. I have planned out, roughly, if hypothetically I were to create a character of every class on this particular server that I'm currently playing on. Kinda roughly have a plan. Ooh, he's taking some damage. Pay attention, me. Doing some instant cast Vivifies there. I don't know why he suddenly took that much damage. What was going on there? This isn't a boss. I guess just some of those snakes were nasty. Anyway, yeah, so I've just for fun kind of sketched out like what race and, order I would make each character of each class for this server. There are 12 classes now and only 11 slots. So I would have to leave one class out if I wanted to make all of them. I can't have all of them. And Hunter is probably the one I wouldn't create. It's a fine class, it's just that I enjoy the other 10 that I've played more, and there's one that I haven't played in there. Demon Hunter is a new one that I've never tried. Maybe I'll hate the Demon Hunter and delete that and play a Hunter instead. I don't know. Anyway, who are we fighting? Lord Cobran? Right. He's halfway down already. Doesn't look like a big deal. Warriors just jumping around, having fun. I'm barely even healing, doing a bunch of lightning and stuff. Don't need to do much. Wait, what was that hyena? Did the hunter, like, summon a second pet or something? See, the downside of this, though, is I don't really know hunter mechanics. I leveled one to, like, I don't know, what is he, level 40 or something? So I kind of know the mechanics a little bit, but it is one of the classes that I know the least, and honestly, just didn't enjoy the playstyle that much. But maybe that's just because I didn't play it for that long, didn't get to know it at the higher levels. Maybe it gets better. Maybe I played the wrong spec. Hard to know. So each class comes with, like, 3 different ways to play it, which each one is almost like its own class. Although I think that's not true anymore. The Druid has 4 now, and the Demon Hunter, I think, only has 2. But, that still averages out to 3 specs per class. So right, we've doubled back. Up on that ridge to our right is where we fought Lady Anacondra. So now we're going back to the other part of the figure 8 of the dungeon. Looks real confusing, looks like there are branching paths, but it is actually mostly linear. That's the way it is with a lot of these dungeons. And I don't know, with my navigational disabilities or whatever it is that I have that makes it hard for me to know where I am sometimes, I just can't really tell, like, where things are without a map. This looks like an optional boss. Kresh, you're a special turtle. Oh no, you are a boss. But you're neutral, so you don't have to engage Kresh as you go by. I see. Yeah, yellow name means would not attack if you don't attack first. Okay, that's what Crackling Jade Lightning does. I didn't have a good feel for how effective it is. It's honestly pretty okay, but melee hits are better. Anyway, yeah, so 3 specs per class. It's hard to know what each one does. And it's completely different to play with a player who plays as that spec, and just sort of see how they work, and to actually play it yourself and feel it and be able to read all the ability descriptions and everything. Like, I feel like ideally, if you wanted to be as effective at this game as you could be, you would want to know every spec of every class and how they work. I think the tank's going off to, like, pick some Serpent Bloom or something. Yeah, he sure was. Had plenty of threats. Didn't have to do anything to scum here. Just can walk off and do something else. I mean, I do that too sometimes as a healer. It is interesting, though, to see him get away with it as tank. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, this guy really knows what he's doing. Like, I am playing with an expert here, clearly. No question at all. It's a little harder to gauge the damage dealer's level of skill. Like, you can really tell with tanks, and you can usually tell pretty well with healers. But damage dealers can blend into the background. If you look at the meters and see somebody at the bottom of it, like way at the bottom, you can usually tell, they don't really know what they're doing, or aren't trying very hard, or are way undergeared compared to everybody else. But there are also sometimes reasons to do less damage than other characters. Sometimes you just want to be on supports, doing like crowd control and interrupts and stuff. It'll be a while before those things become relevant, but they will. Even the healer sometimes gets to take care of those tasks. I had a pretty exciting dungeon coming up quite a bit later, but it's pretty good, where I had to be healing, had to be dealing some damage, had to be crowd controlling, and was also trying to interrupt a thing or two. So basically playing like every role at once. This is a cool game sometimes. Like, yeah, that's another fun thing about the healer, just the versatility. Because like I'm bouncing around between... Oh man, I still have those voice clips on. I'll turn those off eventually. Yeah, I end up bouncing around between a lot of different roles in the dungeon. Now, I can stay back and just heal, but sometimes the situation calls for me to do quite a bit more. I don't have a good interrupt as healer, though. Both Brewmaster and Windwalker, the tank and damage specs of Monk, respectively, get this thing, I think it's called Spearhead Stab, which is a standard interrupt, you know. It's melee range, you hit it, and whoever's casting a spell stops casting that spell and gets locked out of that school of magic for a little while. I think it's been done to me once or twice, probably in Shadowfang Keep. You'll certainly see if it ever says Nature Locked on the front of my screen, that means one of my spells got interrupted. And that's what I can do to an enemy if I interrupt them. But I don't have that kind of interrupt as this class. The other two roles get it. Usually, I think all tanks get interrupts. I'm not actually sure, though. Actually, I'm not 100% sure that all damage dealers do. But at least most of them do. So at this point, at the time of recording, I do have a second character on the same server, who I'd had there for a while. She was level 67, I think, when I came back to this. She's a warrior. Been playing her as a Fury Warrior right now, which is a damage dealer. I had her as a protection warrior way back in the day, but I need more familiarity with dungeons and stuff before I do that again. But yeah, I'm kind of leveling her alongside this monk. So I'll end up with 2 max level characters there, probably. Whoa, that was a fancy jump. Oh, that was a disengage, right, the hunter ability that moves you backward. You do have to actually jump there. You can fall and be knocked back down to an earlier part of the dungeon. You really don't want to do that when you're in a group moving at this pace. Fortunately, it's a pretty hard jump to miss. I suspect you'd make it if you just walked off the edge. I don't know that for sure, though. You might have to actually jump. But there is a gap there that's possible to fall into. So what are we coming up to now? Verdan the Everliving, I think? Actually, there are 2 dudes right next to each other. We're in the Crag of the Everliving. Yeah, Lord Serpentis. Another Lord Snake name. Verdan the Everliving. Big Bog Lord off to the left of him, I think. I'm not sure I was aware of him at the time. He hasn't really popped up on my screen. I think I saw his arm for a moment. I don't want to accidentally walk too far left and get his attention before we're ready to fight. When I came back and did this on my own, I was kind of surprised how close those 2 bosses are to each other. Again, just like with Lord's other snake name, Cobran I think was his name, not much healing to do here. I could just attack most of the time. Yeah, Verdan the Everliving, there he is. Just over there. Not close enough you're likely to get his attention by accident, but you know, he's there. Looks like I'm not on this Deviate Hide quest that everybody else is. It shows me in the lower right in the tooltip what quest items everybody needs from each thing that can drop them. I guess maybe I did that in the earlier run I did here that must have fallen apart, since I had already picked up these quests. I wonder what happened there. I don't have any video record of it at this point, so I just don't know. Also wonder how that rogue managed to take damage. Did he pull threats, or something else happen? I don't know. I got a cape. Finally, something dropped for me. Wasn't 100... Well, wait. He just faded away. What happened? Wasn't 100% sure I wanted to jump in that hole. I saw everybody else doing it, but I like to stick to the tank's position. Oh, he teleported out of the dungeon and back in to get back to the entrance, because you have to go back to the entrance to... Again, yeah, this is an expert. He has the route through here completely memorized. You have to go back to the start to start the event to get to the final boss. I guess I decided to just run back instead of trying teleporting. There are no enemies there, so he wasn't in any danger. But yeah, at any time, not at any time, at any time you're not in combat, I think, you can just click that I in the lower left of the minimap to teleport out of a dungeon and teleport back in, and you'll end up at the dungeon entrance. That's a dungeon finder only thing. If you just walk to the dungeon, you have to walk back out, or use some other form of teleportation. Somebody left, for some reason. I wonder why. Guess they didn't know what was going on, or had somewhere else to be, or... who knows. Because yeah, there is this weird bit of downtime where you have to wait for... Is it Muyo here to go and do his thing? Yeah. Oh! Hey! So I learned something just now as I see that I rolled over that. Protect Muyo as he awakens something something. I didn't realize you could roll over that and see what your next dungeon objective is. Well, that is useful information to know. At this point that I've done like 3 expansions worth of dungeons by now. Yeah, I'm pretty backed up in these videos. I'm working through them, but you know, it takes time. But that's good. I have a long backlog. People are seeing when the dungeon queue screen comes up. If they're queuing for something specific, it will say, you know, 7 out of 8 bosses defeated, or however many there are in here. And they might just say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to wait for another group who hasn't already done most of the dungeon. So that might be why we're getting multiple declines from the dungeon queue. We can totally do it with just the 4 of us, though. We don't need a third damage dealer. But we did get one. It's a troll of some sorts. Let's see, what is that cloudy mana bar? Is that an... Okay, so it's a shaman. I don't know what resource shaman uses these days. When I played one, it was just normal mana. If Muyo comes here before Lady Anacondra is defeated... No, I just don't think he even does. Can you do that? I don't know if she's one that you have to kill to get him to do his thing. Or if you can bring him here and have to fight the boss while also defending this. Haven't tested that. Sorry, we got a new shaman. Don't know what kind. Where is he? Is he with us? Yeah. Looks like enhancement. He was there in melee range. Let me pay attention. Because yeah, I tell enhancement shaman from, what's the other one called? Elemental. By whether they're meleeing or not. Yeah, I think he's an enhancement shaman. A spec I have never played. Played elemental, played restoration, but not enhancement. So right, the way this works is Muyo, you go back to the start of the dungeon, talk to him to get this thing started. Then he runs through here, gets ambushed a couple of times on his way to this cave in the back that we haven't visited yet. Kill some raptors and snakes and stuff to protect him. He's not in any real danger of dying, but you know, if you walked away completely and just let him fight the monsters, he would die eventually. But mostly this is just a little mini gauntlet where you have to stay on the move and kill things in succession. This is a cool dungeon. I do enjoy this one. Not super familiar with the lore of the whole thing. Like, I don't know who the Druids of the Fang are. I don't know who Gnarlex is. He's some night elf dude who's asleep here, and we're trying to wake him up. That's about all I know. I don't play this game for the story. The story is there. I honestly don't even know if it's any good or not, just because I don't really pay attention to it. It doesn't interest me much. But I guess it's nice that it's there as a backdrop for all these activities. Emerald Dream is a thing you hear about a lot, and I have no idea what it is. It's something. I guess it's where Gnarlex is. Anyway, so another sort of gauntlet effect here. Event. Few little things will come out of the water, and then one big thing. And then that's the end of the dungeon. Oh hey look, I'm using my melee abilities. I finally figured it out. It was here that I did it. Alright, so yeah, I got like 2 separate action bars there. I switch, my keybinds for this are shift, mouse, scroll wheel. So I'll shift scroll wheel down to go back to the attack action bar, do some attacks, see the tank's health bar go down, then shift scroll wheel up to go back to healing.
I do not have a target.
So my attacks down there are Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and Rising Sun Kick. Those are my 1, 2, 3 in order. And those are pretty much, for the most part, the only ones I use. Rising Sun Kick is the big one that actually does really respectable damage. Like, even, you know, not even just for a healer, like it does good damage. Has a cooldown on it. Blackout Kick. There's a talent that I can take, I think I have it, that makes Blackout Kick restore a little bit of my mana. So if I'm really low on mana, sometimes I'll do like 1 melee hit with that to try to get a little bit back. But its other feature is it can reset the cooldown randomly on Rising Sun Kick, number 3. So I want to be using it a lot for that. Then Tiger Palm, the number 1, is just sort of an extra filler. It does slightly more damage than my auto attack. But it's just what to use if the other 2 are on cooldown. It does give Blackout Kick multiple charges. So if I Tiger Palm and then Blackout Kick, the Blackout Kick will hit twice. I can do that up to 3 times. But I basically never want to charge it up like that because it's much more important. Oh, that was the final boss, by the way. He's dead now. I always want to be Blackout Kicking. That's the highest priority because it restores my mana and because it resets the Rising Sun Kick cooldown.
That is great.
I guess I felt the need to do that again. Apparently that was my signature move for these first few dungeons. Alright, and that's it. I guess I'd already turned in the quests and stuff. Oh, abrupt end. That was where I cut off the video. Alright, see you next time.